Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Out Loud. I'm Junie Moon, your host, and I'm thrilled you're here, and Happy New Year. I'm so excited to get back to the show. I haven't done this for at least a month because of the holidays, and I really wanted to start off this year with someone really special that can really set the tone for all of us when it comes to health and wellness. But before I introduce my guest today, I want to just give you a little bit of an insight into who I am and why I created this show. So I'm Junie Moon, and I am a certified shadow work facilitator and transformational coach, and my mission is to help people like you get out of your way, get rid of those limiting beliefs and sabotaging behaviors so that you could really soar in your life and have the life that you really, really want. And I work with individuals, I work with groups, I travel around the country doing workshops. So if you're interested in finding out more about my work, you can go to www.innercritictamer.com, and you could even get a free consultation with me. And because my mission is to help people just, fully express who they are and to really soar in their lives, I created Life Out Loud because I wanted a place where I can bring people that are cutting edge, inspirational, just really wise leaders of our time, people that are really making a difference in so many people's lives. And my guest today is definitely one of those people. I have Dr. Matthew Singer, and I would like to read his bio, and then I'll put him on the screen for you. So Dr. Matthew Singer has the desire to make a positive change in people's lives. He completed his studies at the University of Delaware and then went on to graduate from Logan Chiropractic College. This is where he met an incredible mentor who introduced him to the world of holistic chiropractic. And Dr. Singer saw amazing things happening to people who had been sick and disabled for years and then suddenly made complete turnarounds in their health. And so he got inspired. And he was so inspired at the body's incredible healing potential that he began his journey as a holistic doctor and continues today learning about the true healing power of the body. He is one of only 200 doctors in the world licensed as a holistic chiropractor, and his methods integrate homeopathy, design clinical nutrition, applied kinesiology, and so much more. He has so many things that he does, and I had to condense them. And he'll talk about so many things in our discussion soon, but so many things, so many techniques. And he utilizes the most advanced technology in the world, the human body. And he uses that, of course, to restore health and well-being. And his mission is to uncover the cause of people's symptoms, not just to mask them. And his purpose is to present a solution to people's health crisis and offer holistic approaches that will help the body heal quickly and restore the inner power of the body that has been suppressed for so many years. I've had the blessing of him working on me. That's how I met him. I was so impressed with him because he's, chiropractic is great. There's so much wisdom and beauty in the techniques of chiropractic. And then you meet Dr. Singer, who brings in body, mind, spirit, and so much heart and deep wisdom. So I thought, what a great way to start this year. So welcome, Dr. Singer.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be talking with you today.
I'm so glad you're here too. So what I usually do for these shows is to before we jump into the meat of the work you do and how you can help people and all the juicy things of rejuvenation and healing and pointers that, tips that you could give to people for the year, I want to give people a little sense of who you are. I'm curious myself. I know you as this person now, so full of rich techniques and wisdom. I'm curious what your journey was up to chiropractic school. What brought you to the healing arts? What was your own healing journey? And maybe, what's shaped you to bring you to this point in your life?
Sure. Well, it's a good story because I remember it so clearly. I was probably maybe no more than 7 years old, and I was in my grandmother's house, and my parents and grandparents were in another room, and I was watching a show about a girl who was actually in court because there was a doctor who was healing her from a terminal cancer, and the doctor was arrested for treating her cancer and getting her better. and she was on the stand crying because the doctor had left the country to do the work in another country because he was no longer allowed to practice here because he was breaking a law, and she now was getting worse again because she was back doing some of the medications that were killing her. So when I had heard that, I was only 7 years old, and at that moment, that's where something just clicked. Like it just made sense that the body itself can heal, and there are, instead of treating a symptom, when we find the cause, the body will heal itself. So since a young age, I don't know what it was, but there was something about that truth that always kind of stayed with me. So I was, lived a typical, life as a teenager in high school, and I went off to college, and I didn't really get into the healing arts until my senior year in college, when I really started studying about health and healing, and that's where I really started to take an interest into applied kinesiology, and that's why I started learning about how the brain communicates with the body, and that's what drove me to want to go to chiropractic school, because I knew I had so many more avenues and so much more that I could work with. I knew I wanted to get into homeopathy, and I knew I wanted to have a chance to help people really uncover the cause of the illness. That then led me to go to Logan Chiropractic College, and then from there, I also got a degree in neurology, and then I also started to expand my knowledge in applied kinesiology and taking other techniques such as Neuralink and other techniques called total body modification. And from there, it just continued, and I would even go as so far as to travel to remote parts of the country and other parts of the world to study from sometimes one doctor who would just share his wisdom. So I've made it a point to find who I thought were the most amazing healers that over decades of helping people change their lives, I wanted to learn from those people. So that's kind of how I got my inspiration, knowing at a young age that the body was so much more, and we don't just get sick, or things don't just happen. There are reasons and there are causes, and that was really my motivation for wanting to do what I'm doing now.
Oh, that's just great. It's great, and you're talking my talk. It's a similar journey that I've had as well. I didn't know at 7. Wow, talk about being led. But I also, I think the biggest thing for me was when my child was born, and I wanted to give him the best I could in health and healing. And I had already started acupuncture school. That's another hat I wear, and I understood mind-body medicine, and I had a lot of fear in me, actually, fear of exactly what you're talking about, like covering up the symptoms, but not getting to the root cause. I can't tell you, I wish I had every prescription that a doctor wrote for my son in a box, because I would take the prescription, to get rid of the symptoms, put it in a box, ask them, well, tell me what's going on. Tell me, what exactly do you want to do to help him? Okay, he needs bronchodilators, he needs this, he needs that. So I would, okay, this is how I would treat him, and I would then work on an herbal formula or even some acupuncture for him. But then I would look at his stress. I would look at, what's going on in his life. I would try to, work what's between his ears, which is, of course, now the work I do more than anything, which is what's the mindset, what's going on inside. And that's one of the things I loved about your work was I came into your office, I had some hip pain that wasn't going away, and I wasn't on your table probably for an hour. You were asking me and testing my body for spiritual reasons, for emotional reasons, and tears were flowing because there was so much truth to what this hip pain was about. It wasn't that I injured it. It came out of nowhere, but did it really come out of nowhere? So I really respect your journey and what you offer, because, well, I respect it because it's my beliefs too. It's my truth too. So I'm curious with, again, your journey. Before you went into holistic medicine, before you said this is the healing work that I want to do, did you bump up against any healing crisis yourself? Any challenges where you were making choices of mainstream medicine and choosing holistic medicine? I'm curious if anything like that happened with you.
Sure. I mean, for myself personally, when I was younger, I had strep throat 12 times in 1 year. So my parents had my tonsils taken out, and adenoids and tubes in my ears. And that's where it all started. So going in that route, I was on antibiotics, over a dozen times in 1 year, and I'd seen the effects of what it had done to my body. I was having chronic headaches and fatigue, and I would just have the everyday waking up and just not feeling good, just that general, blah. And I thought that was normal. When I was younger, I thought that's just, hey, everybody kind of feels like that. And I didn't know a lot about food. I didn't eat well. I couldn't even say that I was even remotely healthy. I didn't sleep well. I played sports, but I could have been a much better athlete had I taken better care of myself. So, I mean, that was my norm. And then I remember when my grandmother was diagnosed with a cancer, she was given a typical regimen of chemotherapy and other types of medications, and eventually it just got worse and worse and worse. And it was in the beginning designed to just mask it or try and treat it for the time. And then I saw her go through that as well, and then eventually it took her life. So I know at the point where that happened, I said something's got to change. I said my life has got to change, and that's where personally I really went back to that time when I was young, and I said, you know what? I know there's a truth here, and now I want to start uncovering it. And that's at that point, I think I was about 20. I was about 26 years old, and that's when I decided to go to chiropractic school. So I graduated from college, and I just knew it was time, and that's when I went back to school at that point where my grandma had passed, and I said, you know what? This is my calling. Is there another way? Is there something else that could have been done besides just giving the same regimen, the same dose of medications that came with the same outcome, and then eventually ended to her death? So that's what really started my whole aspect of wanting to know more and learn more.
Yep. Yeah. Those are the things that I think do rock us the most. I mean, my dad died of cancer when I was 14. And again, I didn't have the messages that you had or the vision of, there's got to be another way. But I saw pain, I saw suffering, and it of course stayed with me because it was my dad. And as the years went on, I definitely went more toward just seeing the holistic way and feeling the imbalance, the disconnection we had to nature, to plant medicine. I mean, I have so many conversations with people, even just my present boyfriend. It's kind of funny. It's like, he wants me to take, I'm a little sleep deprived right now. I'm going through my menopause. You and I were talking about options, about what to do about that. And he was like, well, why don't you take this? And I said, well, you know what that is? That's this plant that has been processed into that product, so it's an interesting thing, people don't know that. People don't know that our natural medicine has morphed into pharmaceutical companies, and then you have the side effects. And then there's a lot of it, I think, for you and for me, is educating people that there is another option, that we've gotten so far away from the truth, not only of what medicine really is, but how to find that balance in nature. And then, of course, with you bringing in, the spiritual, bringing in the heart and the emotional aspect, that there's so much here, and we've strayed. And because of our culture and because of our indoctrination with how we've been brought up, with the tubes in your ears and you have to be on antibiotics, thank God more people are waking up. But we're still, so many people are in the dark of that there really are alternatives, and not only are alternatives to get rid of the symptoms, but to really have a vibrant life. Our norm, or what people think is their normal, is so far from what real normal could be, which is vibrancy. So I'm curious with you now, with your patients and with the people that come to you, and I'm sure a lot of people that come to you find you because they're looking for someone like you. And yet, people do have their wiring of, the fear, and is this okay? What would you say is your biggest challenge in the work that you do now with people and their illnesses or their habits? Because people have habits, mindset and habits.
Right. And, the biggest challenge always is, it always starts from the spiritual level. It always starts with everything that we've learned from the point of our birth until now, all of the definitions that we've accepted as who we are, all of the the negative beliefs, all of the put downs, the things that we believe that we're not good enough, or we're not worthy of unconditionally loving ourselves, or not thinking we're the most important person in the world, not giving ourselves that love. That's the biggest challenge. That's where it starts first. It's not really accepting the whole self. Like you said about the heart, you know, the heart is the sacred self. That's where it all starts. So when we can live from the heart, we can live in a state of love. So the biggest challenge is so many people, one, won't accept their truth, that they're amazing and they're perfect, and two, they accept the definitions that were given to them by other people's thinkings, either their parents or religious figures or teachers or other adult figures that have influence, where they just observe them not thinking that they were important, not thinking that they were the most important person in the world, not giving themselves the unconditional love. So, you know, that's really where it starts, is the old programming. You
Yep.
know, so that starts with the biggest challenge. That's where it usually starts.
Great. It's a great piece there, because that's what I do. You know, it's like how to help people kind of clean off all of the old wiring and you know, all the old programming, so that they can remember. I think I know we've forgotten that we are perfect and that we're beautiful, and that we got all these messages along the way that there's something wrong with us, or if we do this, we're not going to fit in, or just all the different experiences that have shaped us. And so that's the work I do, which is, you know, helping people to see it and then transform it and come back to their truest self, so that they can have that deep love. How do you do that with your work?
So I guess the first step I do is we first have to find within our spiritual self what emotions we're holding on to first. So through applied kinesiology, we can actually tap in, and, like, for example, as it relates to a muscle or organ or a gland, different parts of the body are going to hold on to different types of emotional stressors that we've taken on in the past. You know, whether it be guilt or frustration or anger or resentment, whatever it may be, self-pity, any one of those things. And the first thing we do to uncovering it is we kind of have to look at the map, or kind of look at what the story is that the body's telling us. Is it coming in through a structural aspect, like where is there a muscle pain? Is it coming in through an organ, like there's a pathological pain? Is it coming in through an autoimmune? How is it actually coming in? Because the way that we perceive the stressor usually is the way it's going to come in. So the first thing I do is I uncover which way it's coming into the body. From there, we want to try and give the body the best chance of releasing it. And there's a lot of different ways of getting the body to release, and there's no wrong way. You know, the first thing I try and do is get the person to see the picture of the stressor in their mind, or feel the emotion as if it's already there. We expand it, we kind of send it love, and then we just watch it melt away. You know, and we're going to then replace that with the truth, because we're going to change the definition. So when we can access that, you know, liver can hold on to a lot of guilt and resentment and anger. When we can transform that, we can all of a sudden get the liver to start to release toxins. And then from there, we can get into a cleanse or a detox, where we can use a homeopathy to pull certain chemicals out. But until the actual stressor or the emotion is actually localized, the body will have a hard time releasing what it needs to release. So that's the way in which the transformation starts, is always at the core root of what the symptom is presenting. The symptom always tells a story.
Absolutely. And again, I came to you with hip pain, and it had gotten really bad, like near the end of my marriage, and got even worse when I was dealing with my teen. And then, you know, a lot of people know I have some big challenges with my son. And so when I came to you, I was pretty raw with some other things that were happening in my life, and you were testing me. And, you know, it wasn't, and you said it wasn't, you know, a physical structural problem. And then you started asking me questions and testing me, and suddenly we're at my kid and I'm crying, and it similarly with my work, it's like it's getting down to the core wounding, the core message, the whatever, you know, we have different language, but like that beginning place where, you know, something begins to fester on an emotional or spiritual level. And
Right.
And then by what I experienced with your work was, you know, hearing what you're saying, you know, like tracking it, and asking me questions and helping me see, you know, where it's really coming from, and then feeling the pain and feeling the deep sadness, and then sending it love and releasing it. You know, it's, again, with shadow work, we do that too. It's like, you know, to get into that moment, and then to be able to shift it and bring in the new message. I remember just you taking that message and just kind of letting it fly and letting it melt, and finding a much deeper centered place with what I came for. It was beautiful work. Before we go on to you know, healing secrets and rejuvenation tips for the year, is there anything else you wanted to share about the work you do in general, or how you work with people, or would you like to move on to some of your favorite secrets to feeling amazing for people this year?
Yeah, I mean, we can get right into it. So we can definitely go into the healing secrets. Yeah.
Great. Tell us some secrets.
So whenever we're doing any kind of healing secrets, the first thing we always want to do is we always want to look at the body as a whole. Okay. We never want to say or get into the trap of the health food store where we walk in and there's a bottle for everything. You know, take this for this, and take this for this, and take this for this. You know, because those, once again, it's just symptom based, just chasing symptoms. So the first thing to think about, or to help you, is nature provides literally everything we need to keep our body healthy. So when you think about the foods, the first thing I always like to get into is the foods. We have some amazing foods in green vegetables, green leafy vegetables like your kale, your chard, Swiss chard, your collard greens, bok choy. Those types of green leafy vegetables hold so much cancer-fighting agents. They all hold so much nutrients and phytochemicals. They hold such a high vibration as well. So it's actually, there's been a lot of research done in the past which has shown if somebody's in a bad mood and they eat green vegetables, it actually makes them happier. So it actually vibrates at a high level. Secondly, when you are eating your food, because it's alive, you don't really want to cook it or steam it too often. You want to try and have it in its raw state, because there's also been studies done that shows the electrochemistry of the food. So when you cook it, you kill it. So it doesn't have nearly the vibrational frequency as it does when you eat it. So literally, there's been studies that have shown that you could take genes that are showing let's say, for example, with all diseases, there's a genetic code that turns it on. There's been proof that eating very powerful green vegetables actually creates a vibrational state which turns the gene back to a healthy state. Because we can have a killer T cell, or we can have a killer trait turn on in a gene, and we give it enough positive energy, and it's going to actually turn it back into a healthy state. So there's been studies that have shown that by eating food in its raw state, whether it's your green vegetables, also your root vegetables are very powerful, your beets and your radishes, celery root, all your root vegetables have tremendous vibrational energy to them. So when you eat them, you're filling your body up with a vibrational state that's equivalent to walking into a party and seeing your best friends in the world. You know how great you feel? It's kind of like what your cells feel when you're eating green vegetables.
Like,
they're so excited. Yeah, they're like, yay. So exactly. So that's the first thing to realize, is that
before you go on to the next one, I'm just curious with the raw thing. When you say raw, do you include juicing in that? Because there's definitely something that happens when people juice it versus smoothies, which is a little bit more, you get everything. It's not going through that heating component. You know, what would you suggest for people?
So there was Dr. Gerson was excellent at explaining the whole the juicing aspect, where basically, let's say somebody has an autoimmune. Let's say they have an autoimmune condition where they have a sensitivity towards gluten, and every time they eat, they feel bloated, or they feel like no matter what they eat, they can't digest, or they have a lot of belching, or they're vomiting after eating. You're not absorbing a lot. So by juicing, it breaks open the cell walls of the plant, and we get the nutrients right away. On the downside, we don't have much time before the minerals and the nutrients start to denature, so you have to consume it right away. With using like a Vitamix, where you're making a smoothie, you're still keeping a lot of the cells intact. you're just basically breaking it enough to where you can basically consume it. So the digestive wall still has to break it down, whereas with juicing, you're able to extrapolate the nutrients where it can almost bypass that digestive part when the digestive tract is actually too weak to even absorb it. Now, the other aspect of juicing is it does help to detoxify the body very powerfully. We have bile ducts within the liver and areas around the pancreas that hold a lot of toxins. What the juicing does, it helps the body to really release those toxins very quickly. So I always tell people, I'll give you the most extreme to the least, but for some people who juice, I'm sure you've heard of people that do coffee enemas, because the juicing pulls out so many toxins so quickly. Dr. Gerson found that by doing coffee enemas, you help to unblock those bile ducts, and the body can release a tremendous amount of toxins.
Wow.
So there's been some doctors in the ages that have said, people have asked their opinions, what's the best coffee, what's the best way to consume coffee? And they say rectally, because it's going to pull out so many toxins. So
you just answered my question. Years ago, and I'm talking about like 20 years ago, I was doing a detox, and I didn't know a fraction of what I know now. And I was having this wicked headache, a horrible headache. And I didn't do the coffee enema, but someone said, do an enema. And I remember within an hour, the headache was completely gone.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I didn't know. I just accepted it. I did it, but it made sense. And,
exactly.
And one other thing that you said, about the green and the vibration, I was thinking not only is it the vibration of the plant, but I know for me, when I'm doing my green drinks, my mind says I'm doing something good for myself. I'm not eating, fries or a burger or something. It's like I'm putting in my body good nutrition. I'm taking good care of myself. And so my mindset, I just feeling myself, just taking care of myself, I think is just another piece to that. It's not, it's like it amps it up even more, because we're putting great stuff in, and we're feeling good about the choices.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely. And that's so true. And that's why that study was so fascinating, which explained the foods we eat really create our mood. I mean, when we eat a lot of foods that are dead, like if you go in and get a deli sandwich or a cheesesteak where everything's already been killed and it's been fried and it's been processed, preserved, you're going to feel that way. You're going to feel slow and sluggish, and you're not going to feel well. Versus when you eat foods that, when you pick them, are alive still, you're going to feel that difference. So, so then the next aspect, the next secret, I would say, are the oils, and not just our essential oils, but our omega oils. So you're going to have like your avocado oil, your extra virgin olive oil, black currant seed oil, your cod liver oil. I mean, these were things where people would say, oh, my grandma used to tell me that. Well, they know, because cod liver oil has so much vitamin D. It has such healing properties. It really helps the cells to absorb calcium. When we're absorbing calcium, we can fight off diseases. We can fight off a lot of degenerative types of diseases as well. So you really want as much calcium absorption from the vitamin D. It helps absorb magnesium as well. It helps smooth muscle work properly, helps the digestive tract move properly. So some of the most important things you can do is have adequate amounts of oils.
And how would you suggest people get the oils in their body? Because there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, some of the ways I like to do it is I will put olive oil on everything I eat. I'll take avocado oil and put it on everything I eat. With the cod liver oil, I like to put that into a smoothie. I don't put it into the whole smoothie because that's too diluted. I'll pour a glass of it, and then I'll pour about a shot glass of cod liver oil into the smoothie and drink it that way.
Ah, interesting.
So that I don't have to dilute it so much in the whole blender. With the oils, I really like to have it with whether it's brown or black wild rice, or I'll have it with fish. I'll put it on top of the fish, or if you're having any kind of a lean meat with it, I like to have it on that. For me, the main thing is not so much just getting the beneficial foods, but avoiding the foods that really can hurt you. For example, foods loaded with gluten. All of your breads and your pastas and white rices, those really cause a lot of irritation, inflammation to the digestive tract. We really want to move things. So the foods that are raw and alive are going to move things. So I try to avoid as many fried foods and processed foods and grains as possible. I really don't have many grains in my diet at all. My diet mainly consists of raw vegetables, fruits, and lean meats, and a lot of oils and avocados, almonds, walnuts, and then I'll do a lot of juicing, and I'll use Vitamix, and I'll make a lot of my food in a raw way. I'll make a lot of soups with raw vegetables. So I try to really get as much of the food in its preserved state as possible, as opposed to getting it from supplements per se. So that's my second suggestion, is you try and get the food in its natural state as much as possible.
All right, I have to ask you. You know,
Yeah.
I hear that you live pretty cleanly, and you know, it's a testament to what you preach, as well as you wanting to, you know, stay well. Do you cheat? Do you ever indulge in things that are on the don't you dare list? I'm curious.
Right. So, you know, it's a good question. So every now and then, because we're all human and we all obviously like to food does taste good.
It does.
You know, what I found is there are things that look good. I tried it, and then a half hour later, I feel awful.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do know is I like to eat the foods that taste good and that still make me feel good.
Yep.
Now, you know, it doesn't mean that I won't, like, for example, if there's like a cheesecake or ice cream or something like that, it doesn't mean I won't have it, but I may only have 1 or 2 bites, because then I already feel satisfied, as opposed to having an entire bowl or having an entire piece of the cake. I may have 1 or 2 bites, and that's all I need to basically satisfy the craving. So, of course, look, we're all human, and life is meant to be enjoyed. And, you know, I also tell people who get so afraid of cheating, and I've talked to masters and gurus who say you can bless the food you're eating, even if it's a Twinkie, and declare that everything in that food is going to serve your body, and the body we have is so amazing, it will fulfill that prophecy. So there is a lot of aspect to. I always go back to the examples where, even though I'm not promoting it, you know, there's people who smoke since they're 15 and now they're 100 years old and they're still smoking, and they drink whiskey, but they're alive and they've never been sick in a day in their life. And I ask them their secret, and they say they love and enjoy life. So that's where the emotional part comes in so much. So if you're going to cheat, love the food you're having. Don't cheat and know that it's going to hurt you.
Beautiful.
Love every bite of it. Savor every ounce of what you're eating. Love it, and declare that this is the greatest thing in the world for your body. And at least if you're going to do that, savor and enjoy it, and go to the max. I mean, load it up. If you're going to do it, may as well go all the way. You know, do it, and with every bite, love it.
I love that. I mean, and I just intuitively knew that's where you were going to take this, because it really is about peace and balance and loving our life. I mean, I see some people that work so hard on being healthy, and I'm going to be so strict with my diet because I need to be healthy. And it's like, oh my God, you know, have something and relax, you know, enjoy your life. I mean, mindset to me is like so much of wellness. But yeah, just to be able to enjoy, to have this sweetness in life, and to not hate ourselves when we do it, but to actually bless ourselves and bless the food. And then, you know, then it's like, you know, it's all good. But the other thing is with what you're talking about the secrets of what we're eating, you know, to me, it's insurance too. It's like, let's, you know, 90% of the time, really fill up on all that great nutrition and all that great love, so that when we do have a special occasion, it's not going to hit us like a ton of bricks, and that we're actually going to enjoy it and not feel horrible about it. So
exactly right.
Great.
And just to add a couple tidbits, the things that actually cause the cravings are the sugar spikes, and the things that will spike the sugar the most are going to be your breads and your grains. So when somebody has a typical diet, like in the morning, if for breakfast they have cereal, or they have a bagel, or they have an English muffin, that immediately is spiking the sugar. And then an hour or two later, it starts to come down, cortisol starts to kick in, and then all of a sudden our sugar is depleting. So now all of a sudden we need that sugar high. So the brain says, well, what's the fastest source of sugar? It looks around and says, oh, that candy will do it, or that cake will do it. And people think, oh my gosh, the sweets are making me fat and this and that. It's actually the bread products that will actually cause you to put more weight on than anything else. So, so some of the other things I like to tell people to do in terms of what really help especially with sugar cravings, is apple cider vinegar. You know, one of the funniest things I've ever heard, but it's still so true, is I met a man. He was 98 years old in the bank, and he looked like he was 65. And the teller says, you know, you're not going to believe this, but this guy here is just turned 98 years old. And I said, well, what's your secret? He goes, he had like one tooth missing, and he looked like a farmer. He goes, boy, I'm going to tell you, every day I take 8 ounces of water, and I put a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in my water, and I drink it.
Yep.
So then that's when I learned about the work of Dr. Bragg, and Dr. Bragg talked about the power of apple cider vinegar, because
is this Bragg's amino acid person?
Yep, Bragg's amino acid. So Dr. Paul Bragg was the one who really brought this to the forefront back in the early 1900s, because by combining the apple cider vinegar with the water, it makes it into an alkaline state. Alkalinity is what prevents acidic states from forming. Acidic states are what stuff like viruses love, and viruses have to infiltrate a cell for it to become cancerous. So you could prevent cancers, you could prevent Alzheimer's, you could prevent major arthritic conditions, all with apple cider vinegar. It helps. If I tell people, you feel like coming down with a cold, do the apple cider vinegar concoction 4 to 5 times a day, and you will feel like a new person. So on a regular basis, I drink my water with apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. Is there a better time of day to do it? Because I know a lot of people say first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, or does it matter?
Well, Dr. Bragg was a proponent of doing it all throughout the day. He said do it 5, 6, 7 times a day. So for me, what I do is in the morning, I work out at around 5 in the morning, and I fill my glass with water, and I put apple cider vinegar in it. So I do it on an empty stomach. I do it after lunch. I do it throughout the day, and there's times where I start to feel myself getting tired as I'm working a full day, and then I'll literally drink a glass of apple cider vinegar, and it's literally like having a 5-hour blast of energy. So
oh my goodness.
There's so much power with the apple cider vinegar. Another old remedy is colloidal silver, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. And there are such benefits to having 2 ounces a day of colloidal silver.
Wow.
It really helps to knock out a lot of parasites and viruses in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Holder Clark, she was a big proponent of making the colloidal silver. So those are simple types of things. She also had an instrument called the zapper. A zapper put in little electric waves into the body, and it killed parasites and viruses, all known to cause different types of debilitating diseases and illnesses. And so much has been linked to parasitic types of infections, where people don't realize it's so simple. We don't have to leave the country to get a parasite. It's in the water. It could be in the food. All we do is go to a restaurant. You don't know who's handling your food. You don't know where it's been. We can clean our food really well at home. In the restaurant, they want to get it in and out really fast. Even if it's a 5-star restaurant, their job is to make the food taste good. It may not be that clean, but it'll be good. So you have to be so careful. It's so easy to pick up a parasite. So
we got to bless everything. Bless everything that we're eating.
Everything.
Bless everything that we're doing.
Exactly. So exactly. So doing simple things like your colloidal silver can help to kill parasites. Garlic is amazing at killing parasites. It's an incredible digestive aid. There's amazing restorative abilities with garlic. Incredibly healthy. It's amazing for a cough. Onion is amazing for killing parasites, for keeping healthy gut flora. All of your the leaves from the root vegetables, like people think celery is actually healthy. It's the celery root is actually the healthy part of it. People think broccoli's healthy. It's the stalk of it that actually has all the nutrients. The root of it. The beets are amazing.
Yep.
Beet leaves are amazing. They all have incredible properties that have tremendous healing properties.
Yep.
Mushrooms do incredible jobs of healing. There are supplements with HSO, homeostatic soil organisms, where they actually take organisms from the soil and they put them into supplements for gut health. So the ancients knew all the secrets to healing. It all came from the earth. So when we can have as much organic, viable vegetables and fruits as possible, you're going to see incredible things change.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, we can talk for hours and hours on all these things. I'm noticing the time. And so before we run out of time, I want to let people know how to find you. Your office is in Wayne, right?
Yep, it's in Wayne on Hamburg Turnpike. We have
And that's New Jersey, guys. That's New
yep.
Jersey. Just so you know, because I just realized there's a lot of people watching from all over the world at this point. But I want to let you know about his website. It's www.chiropracticwellnesssolutions.com. chiropracticwellnesssolutions.com. And you could look up Dr. Matthew Singer, holistic chiropractor, on the web, and you can find out more about him and how to contact him. So back to you again. Is there anything else that you want to tell us, some other juicy wisdom to make this 2016 sweeter than ever for people?
Yep. So after you've covered the food basis, the main thing was what's between our ears. It's the thinking. And if you did one thing for yourself, it's just choose to love yourself. It really is. Let go of all blame, all guilt, all judgment, all criticism from the past, and let go of all fear of the future. Embrace yourself. Embrace your talents. Allow yourself to be who you really are. See yourself as the perfection that you really are. Know that the universe is always in a state of utter perfection. Nothing is ever against you, and the universe is really responding to our every thought. Greg Braden really said it the best, where he said that the universe is only it's a genie. It only says yes. So when a lot of times when we're asking for things, if we're asking for something, it can't come, because asking is a suggestion of want, which is
as if you don't have it.
and then you don't have it.
Right.
So when you give thanks and have the feeling as though it's already there, then it will show up. It will show up faster than you can believe. So when you believe in yourself and you trust in your ability, because whatever one person can do, anybody can do. And you are just as powerful as the most powerful person you know. So we have the power to create. We also have the power to stand still and not even realize it. So we can do and have anything we desire. Just always be so careful with your thinking. Always be so blown away by how amazing you are. Don't ever take yourself for granted. That would be the most important thing you can do for yourself in 2016 is do the thing you've always wanted to do. Don't put it off. Don't wish for something. Make it a reality.
That's beautiful, and that's really what I speak to people about all the time, which is embrace the beauty that you are. And that, of course, there is the unconscious wiring that we picked up along the way. And so when you work with patients and when I work with my clients, we could say I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful, and I can have whatever I want, which is true, absolutely true. And there might be some underlying things that messages or just thoughts that are getting in the way of really manifesting, the love and the happiness that we want. So, to me, it's a yes and. It's a yes, absolutely. Dream, guys, dream big and what it is that you really want to create for yourself and live it as if it's so. And see people like Dr. Singer, see shadow workers, read your books, keep going in and doing your inner work to kind of clean out some of the gook that might be getting in your way. Because, I, as a lot of people know, I've struggled with food most of my life. I've been actually, this month is 12 years since I've been in this size body, but 12 years ago I was 200 pounds and I went up and down the scale and I would be like, all my affirmations and, I am beautiful and thin and whatever I was telling myself, but underneath it, I felt so inadequate, so ugly, so whatever, and that I couldn't do it. And I would go up the scale and then I would down the scale and up the scale until I got to the nitty gritty of my feelings of inadequacy and the old programming. So it's a yes and. So really, when we look at 2016, it's like, who are we really? And believe it and know it to be true, because it is. And everything Dr. Singer just said is so true. You are magnificent. You're perfect. And you need to look at the other stuff. So if there's something not feeling right or not in alignment with what you're believing and what you're seeing in your life, there might be some missing pieces. And through body work and mindset and meditation and all these beautiful tools out there, life can be very, very different. So we have one more minute, Dr. Singer. Any parting words or any other things that you'd like to say to our viewers, listeners?
Well, it's just like you said. I think some of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is meditate. I think you can. I think that's where all the creative juices come out,
Mm,
um, and that's where we really get a chance to find ourselves. So,
mm.
that's what opens up the sacred heart and allows us to really discover who we are. So you said it best. Is really the discovering who you are through the meditation. I'd say is the greatest thing you can do, and it's so much fun to do, and it's so simple.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yep, opening up to our hearts, and then the
Yeah,
more our hearts open, the more we get to connect with everybody, and then we all get to play and dance in the sun. that's
absolutely.
that's the beauty. That's the beauty. So we're at time. My God, this went so fast. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Singer, filled with wisdom and amazing heart and amazing skill, and such a beautiful spiritual person. I'm so blessed to have been in your hands in so many ways, and to have you here, and being in your hands in so many ways, that didn't necessarily sound right, but you knew what I meant. You
I
guys
know what
knew
you
what I
mean.
meant.
Yes.
You what
Well,
sleep
thank you.
deprivation does for me.
Yes. And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. Thanks. And so again, his website is chiropracticwellnesssolutions.com. And for shadow work, it's innercritictamer.com. And we both wish you a magnificent, healthy, vibrant new year. Blessings to you all, and be well.
Thank you.